House Speaker Mike Johnson's plan to gut Medicaid has a couple of problems facing it. First, it's wildly unpopular. You don't need to be told that necessarily, but the polls are very clear. More than 75% of US adults surveyed in April said that they oppose major cuts to federal funding for Medicaid, including more than half of Republicans. And I say that knowing that the will of the people is utterly irrelevant to policymaking and has been for a very long time. But in some hypothetical America that was an actual democracy, that stat I just read you would be significant. So that's an issue, and Mike Johnson clearly knows it. That's why he's lying about the plan when it comes to Medicaid. Also, another problem is that those who are gonna do the actual cutting, figuring out how much needs to be cut and in what way, they seem to be getting a little bit gun shy about it because a key House committee postponed a critical markup of legislation that was supposed to take place this week to get more time, they say, to figure out a plan for handling Medicaid cuts. The markup is now slated for next week. Now, I don't want to get too excited about these troubles or whatever. There has been times so far this year where it seemed like Mike Johnson might not be able to whip the caucus, and it turns out that he does. That you have a couple of Republicans pretending that they're going to be independent, and then Donald Trump posts about them on Truth Social and they fall in line. So don't get too excited, but that's two problems, and we actually have a third. And that is that the corrupt backers of the plan have been revealed thanks to a group of lazy or maybe just technically inept Republicans. Because there's this letter that 20 different House Republicans signed on to, and it calls for deep cuts to Medicaid, deeper than what Mike Johnson has been working on behind the scenes. But the issue is that there was data in the letter that made it clear that it had been written by a conservative think tank with ties to top Republican leaders. So the head of the letter was Representative Chip Roy of Texas, and so he put it out. But the issue is that it had in the PDF copy of it that circulated inside the House, there was digital metadata embedded in it that lists the author not as Representative Chip Roy or one of his aides or policy experts or whatever, but Brian Blase, president of Paragon Health Institute, who was not elected by anyone in Texas or otherwise to determine what happens with Medicaid. But here's what's actually in the letter that was handed to Chip Roy and he pretended to have something to do with. It urges House Republicans to pursue meaningful reforms to the safety net health program, saying if the House budget reconciliation package does not include structural Medicaid reform that achieves desired Republican outcomes, we will be setting up massive tax increases and benefit cuts in the future. For once, Congress should stop procrastinating, using excuses, and finally fulfill the Republican agenda. But again, as we already showed you, the majority of Republican voters don't want cuts to Medicaid. So it seems like when he says Republican agenda, he means the Paragon Health Institute agenda. So that's pretty clear at this point. Also, I love the idea that if we don't do this now, we're gonna have benefit cuts in the future. So what the hell, let's just do benefit cuts now. And so that does seem to be the plan. We can give you some more details, but Luke, this is a story we've been talking a lot about on the Damage Report quite a bit recently, because it really does seem like to help defray just part of the cost of the tax cuts that they're gonna be doing, they're gonna take a massive chunk out of Medicaid, no matter how unpopular it is. So I'm really worried about that, but what do you think?
Absolutely, I've been following a lot on my show as well. They're also, I wanna get to that. John, they're so bad at this. They're so bad. They just accidentally, Jim Roy, exposed that the woo-woo special interests that only the Democrats are beholden to, and Trump and MAGA are the ones who are gonna come and fight and drain the swamp or whatever, literally wrote the letter, and then Chip Roy just, yep, that's what I'm thinking, and couldn't conceal that. Oh, he foiled their plot again. So that's absurd. Then I feel like we're in the most toxic relationship with Republicans you could imagine if it were a relationship, where over and over again, they're on the record and in the initial House proposal on paper, putting down that they want, and they can say it's only ways fraud and abuse. Mathematically, that's just statistically impossible. It's obviously reduction of benefits to get the type of cuts that they at one point passed the proposal and then kind of sneakily wanted to keep out for a second. But I'm concerned with actions like this, it's gonna go back in ultimately in the fully fleshed out bill. So they'll go on the record doing this and then stare us in the eyes and be genuinely outraged. Well, Democrats are saying we want to cut Medicaid and it's a lie and I can't believe they're so dishonest. And Trump recently said, I'm going to stop Democrats from destroying Medicaid, just flipping reality completely upside down, all while they tell us that either they're not going to, it's just going to be waste, fraud, and abuse, which again is a complete red herring. They're lying there. But also that if we do have to, I'm sorry, we don't have the money for your Medicaid benefits. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're actively choosing to reduce the revenue we're going to be bringing in, which is the primary contributor, these huge Republican tax cuts, to our debt problem. They're going to again do that so that trillions can go mostly to the very tip top. Money that, hey, what if we didn't do that and then that's the thing that could help to keep Medicaid functioning. It's all backwards, and there's so much, hate to use the term, overuse, gaslighting going on. And sometimes it really makes me feel like I'm going crazy when so many of these elected Republicans with the most confident look on their face act like it's absurd that people are worried about the thing that they keep saying that they want to do. John?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I'm going to add one more thing that drives me crazy. But yeah, like maybe we don't hand $5 trillion to the wealthiest people that have ever lived on Earth. Like maybe that would be a good plan. Maybe we don't shred the IRS so we generate hundreds of billions of dollars less in federal revenue. Like maybe we don't do all these things that make it so that we can't pay for these programs that are wildly popular even amongst Republicans. The thing, by the way, that drives me crazy is, and maybe you experience this too, like, do I do what I do? Do I advocate for what I advocate for to help out Democrats and progressives? Yes, I do. But also for people who are not those things. I don't want conservatives' Medicaid to be cut. I don't want that. If you voted for Trump, I don't necessarily want to have dinner with you right now or whatever. I'm still a little bit sore, but I don't want you to lose access to these programs. So like, why am I like the guy that you hate? You've been trained to hate, and every day I advocate for you and your family's best interests, trying to tell you that these people that for some reason you trust, even though they're the least trustworthy people in the world, are trying to take these programs away from you. We'll still do it, but it does drive me a little bit crazy, Luke.
It's the most unequal political landscape where, you said it perfectly, but I remember we created a little video for our election night coverage, trauma, where I was essentially breaking that down, that my goal is to uplift all of you too. Like, we're only fighting with you politically because we want to implement policies that we think benefit you as well. And so then there's this weird thing both with our democratic institutions and with these programs that benefit people's lives, where they're hating us for wanting to protect things that benefit them. And also know we'll never go back. Like, if they do a bunch of stuff to harm their political enemies, they rely on the fact that we have more respect for our democratic process, that we're not going to turn around and if we get a Democrat in there, start trying to hurt them a bunch. They rely on the fact that we don't have the same, our whole political ideology is structured around harming the people that we don't like, sort of mentality we talked about in a previous segment. And while I do think that's what we should be doing, and that's in line with our principles, it can feel so backwards that you're constantly being screamed at for just wanting what's best for everyone else, as the people that are screaming at you genuinely want you to be heard.
I know, yeah, it's wild. It's just one of the things that I guess we have to accept. The context sucks.